past few lessons, we've learned a lot about using lists to help apps keep track of information. In today's Make project for Lesson 8, Unit 6, we'll be practicing using lists and programming patterns with loops to create a functioning lock screen app. Okay, so since it is the Make project for this topic, you will not be working with a partner. Of course, if you run into trouble and you need to ask somebody for help, you are welcome to do that. At no point should they be touching your computer and typing code for you, okay? So, what you will first need is scrap paper and pencils so that you can draw flowcharts. We're going to start with creating wireframes, okay? Now, let's look at level 1. Okay, navigate to Lesson 8, Level 1 on Code Studio. Let me see which way. Not that way. Here. Okay. All right, so on Level 1, Lesson 8, Explore. Play with the lock screen maker app. What does each button change? What does it not change? These are going to be responses that you make a note of. Okay, on your activity guide. Okay, so what does each button change? What does it not change? Pause the video here so you can figure out that information. All right, now with your neighbor, I want you to discuss, and your neighbor is the person sitting beside you, not the person that you got up to go sit beside. Okay, now discuss with your neighbor where, if at all, do you think this app is using a list? Where, if at all, do you think this app is using a loop? Pause the video here so you can talk about that with your neighbor. Now, let's build this app. Okay, move on to level 2. Okay, the screen has been set up for you. It is your job to add the code. Now, I want you to make sure you use the activity guide. It's important to plan before you start working. Okay, so fill in the information in the table below for each of the event handlers you'll need to create. Fill in the table below for each variable you'll need to create. All right, and then you write your code. And it gives you steps to follow. Create all the variables above. Give your variables a starting value, okay? It gives you a rubric. This is how I'm going to grade your assignment, okay? This is how I'm grading your project, all right? So build little parts of the program at a time using these steps. Okay, you can run your code in turtle mode so that way you can see if it's working, how it's supposed to be working based on which line is highlighted. Okay. You can add variables to the watcher, so don't forget about that. And don't forget to check the rubric before you submit. And this will be due at the end of the day, not necessarily the end of class. So I want you to keep that in mind, okay? Because if you don't finish in class, you can finish it at home. Now, what do you do if you are completely stuck? Okay, if you are completely stuck, go back to lesson 7. Well, I haven't done lesson 7 at the time of this recording, okay? But once you have worked through lesson 7, you should have an app that kind of does what you're eventually going to need the app in lesson 8 to do. So it might help if you use that code from lesson 7 to assist you in creating the code for the project in lesson 8, okay? Now, for your wrap up, so pause the video here until you are ready to do the wrap up. So you have finished your lock screen maker app. All right, before wrapping up, we will practice writing for the style of questions that are asked as part of the Create Performance task on the AP exam. So respond to the question in step 5 of your activity guide. All right, that's going to be below the rubric, so on this page, okay? It says, submit your completed activity guide, okay. So the question is right here. This question is based on the project you submitted. Consider an iteration statement in your program. Okay, an iteration statement. This whole unit, or this whole portion of this unit, is about loops. So lessons 5 through 8 are all about loops. That is an iteration. Okay, so describe how the iteration statement works. Be very specific. Okay, explain how the loop ensures that each icon 0, icon 1, etc., through icon 19, gets updated. Be very specific again, okay? Don't just put like general statements, okay? Make sure that you are very specific, okay? If you have any questions, we can talk about it in class, but don't forget that this project should be completed on your own. So if you are writing code from ChatGPT, that is not going to help you on the AP exam, okay, whenever you do your make project. And if you go to Schoology and you check the bottom of Schoology, our main Schoology page, you will see that I have added pacing guides for the rest of the semester. Okay, Unit 9, Lesson 3 is whenever we start our make project or our create task for the AP exam. It is due on the 30th, and I have to approve every single element before you submit it. Okay, so please keep that in mind. This day is a holiday. We won't be at school, but I highly recommend that you work on it outside of class if you need the time, because you're going to have to be able to explain it with questions like this on the AP test. All right, and if you can't explain what you have created, then 1, you either didn't create it, or 2, you have no idea what you're talking about, which sounds like you didn't create it. Okay, so please let me know if you have any questions, and good luck.